So, is it hard for you sometimes to say no or like ask for something that you need because you feel a little bit like um, you're afraid that you're going to disappoint somebody? You're going to let somebody down. They're going to feel like you're being selfish and you're being inflexible and you're just being difficult. Yeah, me too. So, my name is Deb Blum, and I'm a self love and authenticity coach, the host of this channel. And today, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about that if we really want to start to live a life that is true to ourselves, where we are authentically showing up as ourselves with our own opinions and perspectives, we're going to have to disappoint people. It's a courageous thing, but we do have to get used to disappointing people because, as you probably know, if this resonates with you, you know that you've spent a long time probably accommodating people even when you didn't want to, probably doing things you didn't want to do, putting your needs on the back burner, maybe not even thinking you have needs. I know for a long time I literally just thought that I didn't even have any needs because I was so focused on accommodating other people and making sure their needs were met that I didn't even really like in a social setting, I didn't even really know that I had needs. Now I tended for a long time to be one way or another. I was either socially with other people and I was completely giving myself to the other people. I was ultra flexible. I was the person who, I didn't have a strong opinion. I could go either way, whatever anyone else wants to do. I was the ultra listener, listened without ever sharing much of myself. Just trying to be for the other person everything they needed. I tried to be that. I was like a chameleon in some ways. And I was very, very good at it, which is what makes me a good coach and what makes me a really good consultant. So it's excellent for my career, but it is not as helpful in my personal life. And so the other part of me that I wanted to say, so I had the part of me that would be socially completely abandoning myself in order to make other people comfortable and to not have to deal with the pain of them being upset with me or leaving me. But then the other part of me would go home and have to completely do everything to fill my cup because I would be so depleted because I didn't really bring myself to the relationship. I was spending so much time orienting toward them and not even noticing how I felt, not noticing what my needs were, not noticing anything about me. I was just oriented toward them. Now, I just want to be really clear for me personally. I was raised in a home where that was really encouraged, where we were encouraged to obey authority and to not make other people uncomfortable, to be that kind, generous person. And that would make you a good person, but it would also keep you safe because then you don't have to worry about conflict and people being upset and all of the other emotions that go with it. And you don't have to worry about people leaving you because they don't like who you are. Because if I become who you want me to be, then you will theoretically want to be with me, which doesn't necessarily really work. But what I did learn, unfortunately, so most of us have an inner tug. Okay, so we have the social aspect of ourselves feels the pressure because we've been taught by society and parents and teachers and others that you have to kind of show up a certain way to be accepted in the world. And let's just be honest, there's some truth to that. Like, so I'm not trying to just say we should never think about how we impact other people or that we shouldn't think about, what's socially appropriate in settings. I'm not saying that we should just become like kind of willy-nilly with no responsibility toward other people. But what happens is often there's another tug, which is the tug toward being our true selves, right? Like our soul is sort of calling us to be our whole fullest expression of ourselves. So what happens is in the first half of our life, we sort of orient toward creating this kind of healthy persona, this like viable and strong kind of ego structure, and then we spend the next half of our life, if we're lucky, unpacking from that and trying to bring our most authentic selves into our lives, living our life true to ourselves, and getting rid of all of those externally imposed expectations that don't feel aligned with who we are. So all the shoulds and the ways that we abandon ourselves and the ways that we try to be somebody we think that the other person wants us to be, we start to kind of come into our true selves and show up more fully there and live our soul inspired life. But and then what happens is we sort of become a little bit of a hybrid of the two, because I mean, the truth is we have to still live in the world, right? So I'm not saying that like you're not going to ever want to, just be flexible with somebody because like you really don't care that much. You don't always have to have an opinion. But what I have come to realize is so often this process of being a people pleaser or a martyr, we actually don't bring ourselves to the relationship. So the other people are sort of like, they don't even know who we are. They don't even know who to connect to. So maybe they do at some level like that they get to call the shots and that their needs matter more and that we're a good listener and that we're always there for them and that we're generous and all that. Maybe they like that at some level. And maybe they will feel disappointed when you start to shift, and you may even lose some friendships. I mean, I hate to say that because that's a big trigger for people to pull back on this work, because I know for me, that was my biggest fear, is that I would be abandoned. It's still a fear of mine that I would be abandoned or hurt, because I was bullied in 10th grade, that I will be hurt physically and emotionally by being my true self. But these are the risks that we do actually have to take as we move into living a more authentic, soul-inspired life that is true to who we are and who we were meant to be and the life we are meant to live. So I encourage people to always try to take very, very small steps on this. So as much as I'm giving you permission to disappoint other people, it will activate parts of you. Like it activated my identity, because my identity was based around that I was good at creating friendships by being this person who did kind of give myself away and tried to orient toward meeting all of your needs. So I had to grapple with, does that make me not a good person? Like, am I being selfish? And I, even to this day, the more that I bring myself into relationships, I think, oh my gosh, am I being like selfish or self-absorbed? Am I bringing too much attention to myself? And it's a hard dance to strike, but I just am encouraging you to really take a look at the ways that you don't bring yourself fully into relationships, that you sort of put yourself behind, like your needs are last. Maybe you don't even know your needs. And just start to wonder, is that really the way you want to live the rest of your life? I will also, so the permission is to disappoint people, but there's also the permission to take it slow and to go at the pace that you need to go at, and not to overwhelm yourself. You can take very, very small steps. One of the first steps I recommend people doing is just, rather than saying yes to everything or no to everything, to just build in the practice of saying, can I get back to you? And then that way you get to come home and you get to check in with yourself. Because I know for me in the beginning, I didn't even know what I wanted or needed. I didn't even know if that was a yes or a no. So I would say yes because of the people pleaser, because I didn't want to disappoint the person, but then I'd later feel such regret over it and even resentment. So I had to learn how to come back, check in with myself, and then get back to people, and then be more clear on yeses and nos. So I just recommend that you take it slow and easy, that you try to honor and acknowledge the feelings that come up around it, the fears that come up around it, but to recognize that in order to get to that next level of authenticity, you probably will have to take the risk of disappointing people. One of the things I noticed about this is that not everybody was disappointed. Some people were really happy to see me showing up. Some people were really, really happy to have my opinion. Some people actually said that they really liked that I was clear and that I had candor around my yeses and nos. I have come to learn, in the beginning I was probably a little more awkward, and maybe sometimes I wasn't as sensitive to other people's needs. I have come to understand how to be able to communicate in a way where I honor myself and I can honor the other person, where I can be sensitive, or I can bring a lot of kind of nuance to a conversation. So one person can want this, but I can come in and say, well, I really want to do that as well, but I don't think I have the time, but maybe I can help in this way. And so we can kind of just tweak and adjust conversations. So a lot of people just like those open conversations. And the people who don't, and the people who don't like who you are when you're showing up more fully, well, they may not be your people in the long run, even though that's hard to accept. I have found almost everybody has sort of come along, and even if in the beginning it was a little uncomfortable and they might have even felt a little disappointed, and it was like I felt like I was letting people down, ultimately most of the people have sort of come around to enjoying that we now have a much more mutual relationship rather than it be me there. Basically, in some ways what I was doing was I was infantilizing people, because I had gotten this story through my life that I would show up as my true self, and then I would lose friendships and people would walk away from me. And I didn't understand why. And I came up with this story, which is that I'm too much. Like I'm just too much for people and they can't handle me. Well, that translated into a defensive story. And my defensive story was, because you can't handle me, you must not be able to handle things. So I have to actually take care of you. And so I have to take care of you by making sure all of your needs are met. As if you can't handle disappointment. And so I have come to really see that people can handle disappointment too. So it's okay to be disappointed. And I'm going to give you one last invitation, which is not only to have you practice being disappointing other people, but to offer to your friends that you would rather them to be authentic and to tell you what they really, really want and need at the risk of disappointing you, because you want to build that authenticity and that vulnerability and openness in your relationship. It is really the key to having intimate friendships and relationships. And so I would invite you to invite them to show up more fully in that way. And then, tell them that yes, I might be disappointed at times, but that doesn't mean that we can't make it through it. We can make it through disappointments on either side. And so this is a way to create a culture that actually invites authenticity, that invites vulnerability, and that invites us showing up and having needs and feelings and experiences that we all kind of grapple with. And it really does invite us to all mature a little bit and grow into this place where I don't need people to pander to me or to appease me or patronize me. I want people to show up and trust that I can handle myself, but that also I want to be with people who can handle me being my true self. That I want you to be your true self, and I want to feel free to be me. So, so I would love to hear more about what you think about this. And if you enjoyed this video, I would ask you to please like it and click the subscribe button and the bell if you want to get more videos from me, and share it with other people who you might know who are grappling with this concept of fear of disappointing people and maybe being a perpetual people pleaser. All right. Thanks, everybody.